Hello and welcome to Bloodhammer. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dean.
And this week we wanted to talk to you about models. We have a lot of them on the table here. And when you're getting started, the models are kind of the most daunting thing that you're going to come across. They're expensive, they are fragile, they are numerous, and there's various different units and groups and armies and lots of other things.
And some of them are so complicated to put together, you will have high levels of rage. Wait until you kindly fit together a Redemptor Dreadnought, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Yeah, it's not fun. So we thought we'd give a bit of advice around buying models. We've got quite a lot between the two of us. Dean has considerably more than I do, but I've bought
one or two.
Yeah, but I bought a lot more older models, and we thought it'd be good to show you how you can retrofit some of those older models to kind of make them game playable. Now, the games that we play, typically, we're playing with friends. We're not too bothered about everything being GW or everything being exactly Primaris or how it should be. So we wanted to give you a bit of advice. So in our first video, we spoke a lot about kind of how to get into Warhammer, how to get started in the hobby. And one thing we brought up was where to actually buy your models. Now, the obvious place that most people I think would originally go to is Games Workshop. It's the creator of the game, it's the place where you can go and get them all. But Games Workshop are also incredibly expensive. I mean, for a standard box of even just, normal Marines, you're looking 20, 30 quid. A lot of these you can go onto eBay, you can find them painted, you can find them assembled, and they're a fraction of the cost.
They are. eBay is a great resource to use for finding models. And the best thing about eBay as well is that if you can actually buy armies fully painted, you can get them very bare and basic, such as this little dude riding a space puppy here where he is completely undercoated. You can buy him anything from that to one of these golden glorious boys that are fully painted. You can buy all sorts on eBay.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to an eBay purchase, there are things you do need to be careful of, such as you want to take your time and have a very good look at what you're purchasing. Some models are broken, not in any malicious way. It is simply a case of someone's just gone and found a box in their attic and they thought, do you know what, this might be worth a buck or two, and they've launched it on eBay. There's nothing wrong with that. Take your time, have a look. It might be broken, it might be damaged, but if you're really sad like me and you've got lots of bits and bobs in the attic, you might find that moment when you go, hey, I've got one of these somewhere, and it proves to be useful. Other times, you've just got to spend a little bit more money to really find those missing parts.
Yeah, and it's a big thing when it comes to buying things off eBay. We'll show you in a sec, but we have on one of our plinths over there, we have a Firstborn jump pack intercessor that I bought, and one of the modern Primaris ones that Dean got fresh from one of our local hobby shops here. Now, I didn't realise when I first started buying Warhammer stuff that there was a thing called Primaris. I just knew I like Blood Angels and I wanted to buy Blood Angels, so I bought a job lot of Blood Angels, and I think I paid about £40. They arrived, I went to my first game and somebody went, they're Firstborn, they're not Primaris, you shouldn't really use them. And I didn't really understand what that meant. We're going to take some tips in a bit of kind of what we've done and what I've done to actually make mine playable, because to be fair, I'm not going and buying a brand new box of bloody Primaris for me. But it still stands to reason that eBay is a fantastic use of it. You can find people that have professionally painted them, like Dean was saying, or you can just find bags of bits. And bags of bits are going to contain so many things to kit bash, definitely build your armies up and make them even better. Another place to really look that we mentioned in the first video is Facebook. My big knight here that we showed off a little bit in the first video, I paid £40 for this. It was fully painted in the Blood Angels colours, it was fully assembled. There's even cool things on the base, like there's a little orb, there's a Space Marine buried, and it was £40. If you want to buy just the model from Games Workshop, it's £93. So honestly, check eBay and Facebook, and especially if you're just starting out in the hobby, definitely just buy your stuff off eBay and Facebook. You'll find people that have fallen out of love of an army and they'll just go, I'm just going to sell it and get rid of it. And that is the best things to get. I picked up so much Blood Angel stuff from a guy who was upgrading to newer models.
You'll also find as well, if you know anybody who says they own what's called a 3D printer, take advantage of that. For example, this for my Custodian army is a Calidus Grav tank. I paid a dear friend of ours by the name of George, if he's watching this, hi George, £5 to print this model off for me. The GW equivalent, which is from Forge World, which is their more specialist arm, last I checked, it was about 112 quid. So needless to say, my custodian army was about to be benchmarked if it wasn't for George, and that cost me a fiver. It looks exactly the same. There is so many resources out there, as Dan was saying, eBay, models, but also bits and bobs. The old Blood Angels Firstborn Death Company on eBay just brought Power Fists galore because I could run a Power Fist Death Company squad. As Dan said, Facebook, look for the models there, look for the deals there. eBay, your local game shop. For me, here, my local one, my favourite one is Timecast Models in Shrewsbury.
Yep.
I get everything from there. If he doesn't have it, I go to G-Dubs. If I'm really lazy, I will sit at home and I'll go on eBay. But they're my main 3 points, and there's no reason it can't be for you as well.
Absolutely. So when looking through eBay, Facebook, even GW at times, you're going to see a lot of discourse online about Firstborns versus Primaris Marines. Now, when you're starting out, it's quite difficult to actually tell when you're looking at these random blurry photos on eBay what the difference between the two is. The two that we've got here, this one's a Firstborn, that one's a Primaris. Typically what you'll find is that Firstborns are on smaller bases. They're smaller models overall. They've got different jump packs. They don't necessarily have, there's like a little bit at the front of the knee that kind of sticks up a little bit of armor. That's different, but you'll notice that the Primaris Marines are a lot more detailed because they're a lot newer. A lot of the Firstborn Marines I've got are all from around the mid-2000s, whereas the Primaris Marines, I mean, they're still releasing new updates today with them on. Now, just because you buy Firstborn Marines doesn't mean you can't play them. We'll show here, but I've actually glued mine onto the normal size base. Because they're jump packs, they're now roughly about the same height as the jump pack Marines. So it means that I'm not getting advantages when they're behind cover, they've got the right correct bases on them. And again, we play with friends, we've stressed in all these videos that look, you want to have fun while playing it. But they now are just about the right size where they match with all of the Primaris stuff. Don't get too bogged down in the Primaris stuff when you're starting, because it's a lot, and there's a lot of discourse online, there's a lot of people warring online about it. The only thing you need to know really is Firstborn Marines are older, Primaris Marines are newer. They're going to cost you more, they're going to cost you less. If you want to do an army on the cheap like I did, buy Firstborns and just get a mate to get you some bases, 3D print some bases, buy them off AliExpress. That's what our friends have done, is just buy an absolute crate load of them off AliExpress for like 20p. And just glue them. It takes a little bit more effort than going and buying the new ones, but like I said, I bought a job lot and got quite a lot of models for about £40. That's the equivalent of about a box, well, pretty much just one box of Primaris Marines really, because they're £30–35. Even if you go to your out of town stores, they're still going to be 25–30 quid. So 25–30 quid for 5 models, or 40 quid for some models I needed to glue onto some bases. It's really a no-brainer.
It is. And one thing I will add into what Dan's just been saying there, when it comes to the Firstborn, don't be afraid to make the investment. Gradually, G-Dubs will phase out all of Firstborn with Primaris. For example, my Blood Angels army, I don't actually possess any Firstborn within my Blood Angels army. Following the range refresh they've done, I've got the Primaris Sanguinary Guard, the Primaris Dante, the Primaris Mephiston, yada 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 yada. But then for my Space Wolves, I've got Primaris Ragnar, but he's still in a box in my pile of shame and we don't talk about that. I've got the latest tank, Blade Guard Veterans. Other than that, the generic guys like your Assault Intercessors and the normal Intercessors, they're Primaris. But the beautiful models like the Thunderwolf Cavalry, like the Blood Claws, they are still Firstborn. They are bringing out the new Primaris versions of them. Ross be praised, they've done a damn good job of it.
Finally.
Yes, I was like an excited little kid in a candy shop. I put my 8-year-old boy to shame. I was that happy with it. I don't care. It was brilliant time. But don't be afraid to make that purchase. The Firstborn models have got something unique about them. From a lore side of things, the primary difference between the Firstborn and the Primaris is the Primaris is just basically a taller, stronger Space Marine. He's got more about him. He can take more damage as a result. Depending on what you read and who you listen to, they've got arguably less humanity. And if you know, well, in that case, as per Belisarius' call, execute Order 66, the galaxy's screwed yet again.
Yeah, and it's actually a big thing in the Space Marine games, which a lot of people have played, is in Space Marine 1, Captain Titus is a firstborn. In the second game, he goes through the Rubicon surgery, becomes a Primaris when he's then Lieutenant Titus. So
he does actually start the game as a firstborn, so when you play that initial startup in Space Marine 2 and you're on the Thunderhawk dropship with the kill team, sorry, not the kill team. Deathwatch kill team, I was right, sorry. But when you're with them, you are actually a firstborn. But it's not until you fight the Carnifex, you take the damage, spoiler warning, you take the damage from the Carnifex, you become a Primaris.
Yeah. So, again, worth getting both, but if you want to do it a bit on the cheap, just buy firstborn Marines.
If you want longevity, buy Primaris, but the firstborn, they are still beautiful models though. So, as we've discussed, depending where you purchase your models from, be it eBay, local hobby shop, G-Dubs, AliExpress, wherever you're going to pick up a model from, it will depend on how it will arrive to you. If you're lucky, you will get the model pre-built up, as you'll see on the table in front of us. These are obviously all the work's been done. However, if you prefer them, they'll arrive on what we call the sprue. Now, when a model arrives on the sprue, this tends to be what they look like. So you've got every single weapon option, even head options, bodies, legs. Bodies and legs don't tend to change, but weapons do. So here I've got the Space Wolves Wolfen kit. This is a firstborn unique Space Wolf kit. I've got weapon options here for axes, thunder claws, hammers and shields. If you're a Space Wolf, hammer and shield all the way, especially with the Wolfen. They will come on these sprues. Now, accompanying your sprues, you'll have a little handy bag to keep all your bases in. But one of the most useful things that you get is your little instruction book. Stay standing. Your little instruction book. Now, as you go through your sprues, on your sprues, you'll notice different numbers. So, for example, looking at this one, if I want this little funky thunder hammer here, it's number 22. As you go through the book, it will tell you on there which number relates to which part of autonomy for the Wolfen and what it sticks to. It will give you each of your weapon options, even your head options, depending on what you're building. So I've got different options on this book, as I said, that I can do a axe, claws, or a hammer. It's really easy to follow. Like I said, they're numbered. So literally all you do is you open it and you go like, right, 1A, I've got to fit part 151 to 153 to 01. Look, cut out, sand them down, get rid of the mold lines if that's your thing. If you're lazy like me and you can't bother, don't. And then just stick them together. Next stage, 154 to 02 to 152, and that just sticks together. It's really simple. I tend to just make little piles and then stick it all together. I love the building side of it.
I find with the Necrons, it's the same thing. Obviously, we've got a bit of a Necrons theme here, but we both just recently started building Necron armies. And when I got my first combat patrol, that had different gun options, different head options as well. So it was like 2 different head options, 2 different gun options, slightly different ways you could orientate them. So you can customize your army however you want to go on the tabletop. They're really good to get. Like I said, getting them off eBay and stuff like that is cool, but sitting and building them yourself, it just adds a little bit something, and it's a giant part of the hobby.
I quite regularly will just sit in the living room. The wife will be asleep on the sofa. I'll put a movie on or a show on in the background, and I'll just sit on the living floor building models. It's weirdly, I personally find it weirdly therapeutic.
It is. Same as the painting. Yeah. Once you've got your models actually assembled on their bases, now comes, for me, like the most fun part of the hobby, apart from playing the actual tabletop, which is painting them. Now, me and Dean paint our models very differently. I go quite down and dirty, drown them in Nuln Oil, basically just dip them in red paint and then throw them against the wall.
Whereas I quite like sitting there and putting time into the detail, the edge highlights and the general look of them. That's where the pleasure for me comes from it all.
Which is why Dean's models are infinitely better than mine. But the point is, you're going to go through a bit of a life cycle with them. So you'll have them initially where they're just grey, like this man here. This is just the standard plastic. Then you're going to want to get a really good undercoat. I'd suggest going to, again, GW, your local hobby shop, and get a can of spray paint. If you're starting off, Dean uses typically an air gun. I use just a rattler can in my shed. Make sure you give it a good shake, spray them up, get a nice even coat over all of it, and you'll eventually end up with something kind of like the wolf here, where it's base coated in white. From there, really, you just start building it up. I always tend to try and do the more solid colours first. I think you'll probably agree.
Yes,
on the Blood
definitely.
Angels, go through and do your blacks, touch up any reds, get in all the armour crevices and get the kind of shading on the actual armour underneath. And then after that, it's just about having fun. A lot of my models, when I paint them, I just kind of paint them what I think looks cool. So I go a lot of times with lots of gold because they are Blood Angels, obviously the Sanguinary Guard, there's a heavy amount of gold in their armour.
Yeah.
That's why we have St. Dave here with his gold backpack, my tank over to the left with his gold gun. Or you can go on to the Warhammer app, and they actually have courses on how to teach you how to paint.
They do. I follow the YouTube channel quite regularly. I go onto the app and there's painting tips and tutorials on there. Particularly find it useful for characters or just get an idea of colour schemes. The beauty of when it comes to painting, you're not wrong no matter what you do. Dan and I are both Blood Angels players, but our Blood Angels look completely different. There is nothing wrong with that. What you choose to paint is what you choose to paint. My 8-year-old son, he does this and he'll paint a model and go, does that look right, Daddy? I'm like, mate, what do you think? Because I like it. Then it's fine. It's just that simple. I paint how I want my models to paint, as does Dan, and as will you. At the end of the day, are you happy with it? Yeah, right, sod what anyone else says. All that matters is you're happy.
Absolutely. And like I said, I try to paint mine a bit dirtier. I use a lot of dry brushing. I didn't even know how to dry brush. I just watched a video, dabbed some paint and went, let's try it. And I dry brush mine. I tried to make my Marines look like they have been battered beyond belief. Dean's look pristine. They look like
just
they've just arrived. If you want to, you know.
Oh no, you've been here for months fighting. The Glory Boys will come and do it now.
If you want to relate it to anything, it's like that scene in Call of Duty Black Ops where they arrive and Woods has been there and Woods looks like hammered shit and you don't. It's the same thing. It's how our models look. But there's no kind of right or wrong way. If somebody tells you that you painted your models wrong, just tell them to because it's a game. We always try and preach this. It's a game. You're playing with toy soldiers on a table with a bunch of dudes, usually on a Friday night. It's a game. Have some fun. Paint your models however you like. There's so many creators out there that do so much cool stuff with just painting their models however they want. It's up to you. The world really is your oyster.
I did warn you I was going to drop this in. A beautiful example of this is have a look at the model Primarch Angron. The model from 40k, the current model. It is gorgeous model.
Incredible.
A pure demon Primarch. You have that model, then you have someone who decided to paint it up in the aspect of a clown. I mean, it is just next level amazing. It is brilliant. I would never have the stones to do that. The cost of that model alone would make me too scared to ever paint it. Never mind to buy it and then turn it into a clown. I mean, my hat off to you, whoever you are that painted it. It is amazing. But that's just an example. This is your hobby. You are spending the money on plastic crack, as we've called it before. And let's face facts, it is. It really is. At the end of the day, you paint it how you want to. I sat and followed a video for my Dante. I sat and followed a video for my Custodian Guard. My Blood Angels are a mix of about 3 or 4 different videos. My Space Wolves, I painted 2 models up, thought they were brilliant and can't remember the recipe. You will have this as well. How you want to do it is how you do it. I can't paint a sword. My sanguinary swords are a random recipe I just made up. You will find your way. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, there is only your way. So, thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well for a bit of feedback for us if there's anything else you can recommend or even that you'd like to see. As I said before, we'll probably just ignore you, but the thought's there at least. Also, just want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Shrewsbury War Game Society, for letting us film here, the use of the amazing scenery you see in front of you, for Timecast Molds and Shrewsbury for sponsoring us as well. And yeah, we hope to see you again. As I said, please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.